Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Hey guys, Jim here. Welcome in once again. Today we're going to be doing another extreme budget knife video. This is going to be my final of the two Civivi Knives videos that I wanted to get done. And today we're going to be taking a look at the smallest of the two that I got my hands on. This one is called the NOx. Now, a lot of people look at the prices of Civivi and go, that's a little scary cheap. How are they accomplishing that? And getting a knife that looks like anybody else's that would be 5 times the price. Here's the deal. You look at this online, and if you don't read the description, you think you're buying a titanium frame lock. You're not. You're buying an all stainless steel frame lock. And because of that, you're able to save a lot of money. But also because of that, it's not going to have that drop shutty action that maybe you were looking for. It's not going to perform the same as a $300, $400, $500 knife, obviously. However, you're getting a hollow ground nitro V blade in a compact package in a solid built frame lock with actually a pretty nice pocket clip in a package that looks a lot more expensive than it is. So if you're just looking for an EDC workhorse, you're not looking for a show knife, you're not looking for a knife that's going to impress everybody that comes in your path, this is actually going to be a good way to go. Now, generally, as I've mentioned before, I don't go into price points that are this low. However, when Civivi reached out to me and said, hey, we've got some new products coming out, would you like to take a look at a couple? And I looked through their website, I was actually a lot more impressed than I thought I would be, because I really hadn't paid a lot of attention to Civivi. I paid attention, obviously, to their parent brand, and I've enjoyed many of their knives. But Civivi was always kind of in a price point that I really don't collect in. I like my custom knives, I like my mid-tech knives, and even high-end production. I generally don't carry something that's going to be under $400 or $500. That's generally the lowest price I go to. Now, that doesn't mean I'm a knife snob. I kind of am. Obviously, we're all collectors. We're going to have different, areas that we like to collect in. But for the majority of my life, I carried fairly inexpensive production knives. So I still have an appreciation for them. I just don't feel that a lot of them are very exciting. And while this is not an earth-shattering design, and it's not going to change your life, I do believe that when you look at this knife, it represents the type of style that you would see in knives that are typically a lot more expensive. And let's be honest, if you're using this to keep in your office and you're cutting open stuff, you're cutting open packages, maybe you're doing what I'm doing here in the next couple weeks and making a big move, and you're going to be cutting down a whole bunch of boxes when you're done and slicing open all the boxes when they arrive. This is a really great way to go, and it saves the wear and tear on your more expensive knives. Yes, I realize that you're probably still using your more expensive knives, and that's great. But we don't generally want to abuse a $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 knife. We'll use it if we need to. We'll use it if it's there with us and we need to cut something. But we're not going to go out of our way to go, you know what, I've got 40 cardboard boxes I've got to cut down for recycling. Let me go take my $3,000 one-off handmade custom with a hand-rubbed satin blade and put marks all over it for absolutely no reason. When I can reach for something like this, that's tremendously inexpensive, yet still going to give me good cutting performance with a nitro V blade and a hollow ground edge, hollow ground bevels. And I can sit there and cut them all down all day long. And you know what? If I get tape gunk all over it that's hard to get off, and I've got streaks from the cardboard, because there is material in cardboard that will actually damage the finish of a knife blade, I'm not going to cry too hard, because it was inexpensive, it's easy to replace, and it's not exactly a show knife. So if it's got some little love marks all over it, I don't know if that really sounds good, but if it's got some marks on it from use, it's not really that big of a deal. So let's take a close-up look at this. Let's examine the pros and the cons of going into a price point like this, and see if maybe this could be a good daily alternative for you, or just a backup to keep somewhere in the house or the car or your backpack, because I think for the price, it's worth owning a couple of these. All right, so here we go. Now, the whole idea here is inexpensive yet quality and utility, right? And that's what a lot of people are looking for when they're buying a knife in this price range. Maybe they're first-time knife collectors or knife buyers, or first-time, just kind of getting into knives. Maybe you're a huge knife collector with 3,000 knives, and you just like to have a variety, or you want to have something inexpensive laying around. This is a great way to go. Let's start with the packaging real quick. This is what you'll be seeing here. It is marked, by the way, that it is a steel handle, so you're not being misled in any way, shape, or form. It is your fault if you didn't read the description on the website that you were purchasing from and thought you were getting a titanium frame lock for, 65 bucks. Plain old box, and then inside is going to be your zippered pouch with your microfiber cleaning cloth. It's actually a micro suede. A lot of people just say microfiber all the time. It's not. It's a micro suede. There is a difference. And there is your warranty information, and you get some cool stickers to go along with your knife. It says something here on the back, so go ahead and read that if you want to, if my camera will focus. There you go. Ba-ba-ba. All right, let's get those out of the way, and let's talk about value, affordability, and practical usefulness. First off, what we're looking at here, again, is called the Civivi NOx, N-O-X. I don't know why they capitalize N-O and have a little x. If anybody happens to know, that'd be great. Put it down in the comments below. Price varies between 65 and 75. 75 is their MSRP, and I've seen them as low as 65. So what are you getting for $65? Let's go ahead and get the specs out of the way and talk about that real quick. Very simply, it is 100% stainless steel. That is your blade, your frame, your hardware, your pocket clip, everything is stainless steel. Overall length of 6.8 inches, blade length of 2.97 inches, and that is in Nitro V. I love, love, love Nitro V. It is a fantastic stainless steel. I've used it many, many years for knives that I make. When I want something that's super crazy slicey, very, very corrosion and rust resistant, and has a good degree of edge retention, Nitro V is a fantastic steel. And again, it's always going to depend on the heat treat, but it as a base performer, it's a really great steel. Speaking of heat treat, they've got their hardness listed as 59 to 61. I've mentioned this in other videos by several manufacturers. That is a very large variance. It doesn't sound like it numerically, but in heat treating, that's a very big difference. What I want to hear is 59 or 60 or 61. Or if there's going to be a variance, give me a 1-point variance, 59 to 60 or 60 to 61. When you go from 59 to 61, there are very big performance differences depending on the steel. And honestly, Nitro V, it really does perform better at the higher Rockwell hardnesses, including above what their maximum range is on this knife. It is a hollow ground edge, a hollow ground blade. I love that. So that's going to be super, super slicey. And a knife this size, I mean, let's be honest, this is not going to be your backup self-defense knife or anything like that. This is going to be used to slice stuff, and that's going to be a good slicer blade profile. Thickness on that blade is 120 thousandths thick. Frame, 350. So very, 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 very slim overall profile. The frame, the entire knife, the blade, everything very slim, very easy to carry. And it's a good thing because everything is steel, so it weighs more than a titanium frame lock. This is 3.09 ounces. So 3 ounces in a knife this tiny, that's actually kind of hefty. You got ceramic bearings and a ceramic detent. So for the money you're spending here, you could basically buy most brands or most makers' EDC pry bar. And obviously, pry bars are really useful to have. They're really great. But I'd rather have a knife any day of the week over a pry bar, as long as I don't need a pry bar at that particular moment. But for less than the price of somebody's pry bar, you're going to get into a nice frame lock. Does it look good? Yeah, I think it's a nice, handsome, clean design. really well put together all the way around. I really like the pocket clip. Normally, I'm not big on this style of pocket clip, but again, that's going to be a knockoff for a several hundred or several $1,000 knife. This is 65 to 75 bucks. It performs very well. I've had this in the pocket a few times just to kind of play with it. I haven't actually carried it outside of the house and done anything with it, but it goes in and out perfectly. The duckbill is just about perfect. It gets in over the seam of your jeans pocket very easily. It's got great retention. It's easy to grab, when you're trying to grab the knife, because it is pretty much a deep carry, and I'm not a big fan of that myself. There's no practical need for anybody to have a deep carry pocket clip. But if you do like it a little bit deeper in your pocket, you can just grab it here or here, and the fat of your finger will drop in there and catch the edge and pull it out a lot more easily. Very well done. You do have a lanyard opening there, so if you'd like to attach a lanyard, and on a knife this small, you may want to do that. So you've got that lanyard opening. You can either loop it on one side or the other, or all the way through. Your pocket clip is reversible. That's why this hole is right here, so you can access the hardware and then flip over your clip to the left-hand side. So if you're a goofy lefty, it's going to work out great. The Civivi pivot, flat face pivot, looks fantastic on there. It's a nice finish that complements the overall bead blasted matte finish of the entire knife. Nice chamfering all the way around, makes it very soft in the hand. The jimping, by the way, both on the flipper tab and the spine of the blade, are actually pretty darn effective. I was really surprised by that. I'm especially happy that it's jimped sharply on the flipper tab. Because of the size of this knife, you got to realize how tiny it is. And if you've got large hands like I do, it's too small to really get a hold of comfortably. So having that jimping, so if you don't have the optimal grip on the knife, that jimping is going to be very, very welcome. Flips really well. They've got the detent set really nicely. The ceramic bearings are doing their job. It rockets out. It's very fast and very smooth. But one of the downsides of stainless steel, remember I told you we would talk about pros and cons. When you go from a titanium frame lock to a stainless steel frame lock, you're losing something that's very important in the titanium, which is memory, springiness. So the makers of whatever, whether you're looking at a custom knife, you're looking at a mid-tech, you're looking at a production, semi-custom, whatever, the tension is set by these reliefs that are cut into the lock bar. And everybody does them a little bit differently. But that relief cut is what dictates how much tension that lock bar has when it goes over. So take, for example, on the Avian Knives Atlas. You see where it's stopping to engage the lock. It's hard for me to get a grip on that just right. And you'll notice that on this one, it's a little bit further over. Well, it kind of has to be, because it doesn't have that springiness to go right back to exactly where it was beforehand, like titanium. So they're having to force it over a little bit more so that it does engage the lock and stay engaged. So let's say on your typical titanium frame lock, they're going to heat this section up here, and after they've relief cut it and all that, they're going to heat it up, and they're going to bend that over without the blade in there. They're going to bend it over to where they think the lock engagement's going to be. They're going to dry fit everything, put everything back together. They're going to test it a few times. They're going to flip it open and make sure that that lock is engaging that interface right there, and there's no blade play or anything goofy going on. Now, every time I bend this over, it's going to go back automatically to that same spot because it has that springiness and it has that memory to go back where it was. Whereas stainless steel is very, 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 very limited in that. So what's happening here is you're going to get a lot of tension. Right behind there is where your detent ball is. And that is riding against the blade. So it provides friction. You're going to get more friction on this, which means it's not going to be drop shutty in any way. You're not going to be able to do, this kind of stuff, like what you just saw me do with the Warncliffe there. So, you're going to close it like a normal human being. Listen, we only do this whole drop shutty shit in videos. That's it. Just to demonstrate to you how smooth the operation and action of a knife is, because you're not sitting here holding it. And I've tried to defend my actions for so many years because I have caught so much flack, because a lot of people believe that I'm the reason why everybody on Instagram videos and Facebook videos and pocket dumps in general, when they're showing off their knives, everybody does this. And nobody closes it like a normal person. They always do this. And they always talk about drop shutty action. And drop shutty action does not dictate the quality of the knife. I began doing it because it's my way of being demonstrative. There's no way for you to sit here and understand how smooth a particular knife is by me just telling you, because you're not here. So that was my way of showing you. And I don't think I'm the first person that ever did it in reviews, but whatever. I get blamed for shit all the time, so what's new? So you're getting a lot more tension on that lock bar. It's pushing the detent ball up against that blade a lot more, I don't want to say stiffly, but with a lot more friction. So it's not going to drop free. But if you're closing your knife like a normal person, like I was starting to say, it's just fine. There is no issue with that whatsoever. It feels great. You can feel how smooth it is because it's got the ceramic bearings. And it's a ceramic detent that's riding against the steel blade. So it is wonderfully smooth. So there's no issue with the smoothness. So don't think because it doesn't drop shut, doesn't drop free, that it's not smooth in some fashion. It's a really well-built knife. But again, you got to keep things in perspective. It's about $65. All I want for $65 is a blade steel that's going to be quality, that's going to give me some longevity. It's going to be sharp, and I would like it to look attractive. I mean, we don't want to carry an ugly knife, and a lot of you do. I've seen your pocket dumps. A lot of y'all got some ugly-ass knives. Step up your game a little bit. So if you go back to even the 1990s, it was still popular for a high-end custom maker to offer a steel frame lock. You could spend $400 or $500 back then and get an all stainless steel knife, no titanium. So don't think again that if it's all stainless steel that you're like, oh man, I'm really compromising. You're not. It's going to have a little more weight to it. Let's give you some weight comparisons here in some similar sizes. I don't have a lot of knives in this size because I'm just generally not a really tiny knife person. So I'm coming up with 3.1 ounces here. So let's take the Vero Engineering Mini Synapse, right? Synapse Mini is just fantastic. It's 2.8 ounces. It's not a huge difference, but there's a little bit of a size difference here. So here is the Synapse. Here is the NOx. May not be as big of a difference as I thought. No, not really. I mean, it's got a little bit of a bigger blade, but really not an enormous difference. A little bit of a blade stock difference in the thickness. The Vero's a little bit thicker. So again, where are we at here? 3.1. Grab the Avian Knives Atlas. 2.5. Very, 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 very lightweight. On a significantly larger knife, by the way. So do keep in mind that, yeah, it's a small knife and it's going to weigh a little bit. It's not really heavy. Now, you want to get into heavy? The Civivi Mini Asticus. Now, the model in general, not that heavy. This version is all copper scales over stainless steel liners. That bad boy. That's 5 ounces, man. That's a pocket weight right there. But I'll be honest with you, between the two, that's my preference. I love the look of it. I love the blade shape. And for me, the size, it just fits my hand a lot better. I'm not saying that the Mini Asticus is that much better than the Nox. I mean, it's pretty much the same knife in just a slightly different configuration, right? Just fits my hand better. So between the two, you know, I'm not really going to carry this. This, definitely going to carry. And I have carried, and I've really enjoyed it. And these are only a few dollars more. These are around, what was it, 80 or 90? I'm forgetting now. It's been a couple months since I did this review. But man, the value in this thing is incredible. And I think if you didn't get their black satin copper, I think it was like 20 bucks less. I don't know. Anyway, they're very close in price. They're very close in the way that they're made. I just happen to prefer the Mini Asticus. So yeah, it's going to feel a bit more substantial, like something like this. That's titanium and stainless steel. This is all stainless steel. It's smaller, but it's very close to being the same weight, even though this is larger. This is obviously a lot thicker. So if you're comfortable carrying something like a Jaeger M, I don't think you're going to have a hard time with this at all. You're not going to find it burdensome. You're just going to look at it and go, but it's so heavy for such a tiny knife. I get that. So would I recommend this knife to other people? Yes and no. If you really want higher grade components like titanium, honestly, you can spend about $35 to $50 more and get something very, very similar from a number of brands. But if you're looking to spend as little as possible, you know, maybe you're getting married. Maybe you got to buy 6 of these for your groomsmen. You got to buy 6 knives for your groomsmen. You want to give them a knife gift. I'd rather buy 6 $65 knives than 6 $400 knives. Am I right? And you're still giving them something that's going to work well for them. They're going to enjoy this knife. The flickability is pretty good. It's not fantastic. You only have one method of deployment. There's no hole, thumb stud, or fuller to flick from. It's just a flipper. It's got a nice little finger choil there for you to choke up in if you really need to get in there. Sorry about that. My camera just completely freaked out and shut down, and took me a few minutes to get it all figured out. Anyway, I'm not entirely certain where I was in my frame of thought here, but as far as recommending it, I absolutely can for somebody that's looking for a budget knife and looking to get good performance, a good blade steel, a nice grind, a good edge. They did a really good job on making it very, very sharp. It's actually got it's got a polished edge. I didn't realize that. I personally don't care about polished edges, but I know a lot of people out there, for whatever reason, do. So if you really want a polished edge, well, there you go. It's nice and shiny. Overall, nicely made. There's nothing to really complain about, because you do have to keep things in perspective. Now, if that was the same price as this Vero, yeah, I'd be nitpicking the hell out of it. I'd want it to be titanium. I'd want it to have less tension on the lock bar. I'd want to have a faster action to it. I'd want to have a few other options going on. But it's not. I mean, this is a $340 knife, if I remember correctly, compared to $65 to $75. Yeah, I mean, there's really nothing to complain about. So for me, my opinion is, if you're looking to save some money and still get a good performer and something that you're not going to be disappointed in, this is a great way to go. Is this going to be your end-all, be-all, I'm totally in love and I'm going to have a long honeymoon period when I get it knife? No, absolutely not. It's not going to have that degree of, special things to it. It's not limited in any way. It's just a really good run-of-the-mill everyday knife. And at the end of the day, everybody, all of us, no matter what level you're collecting at, we all need a good run-of-the-mill everyday carry knife to have in our collection, period. So them's my thoughts. Let me know down below what you think. And if this would scratch the itch for you, if you were looking to spend under $100 and get a good knife. Until next time, guys, I'll see you on the next video.